Batter up.
Rog and Chris, they're on the air. Yankees, Mets, they're everywhere. From the Bronx to Queens, the diamond gleams. MLB talk, the ultimate team. MIMLB is the place to be. Rog and Chris with the pitch you'll see. Swinging stats and stories fly. Baseball talk that's amplified.
And I think we're good. Welcome to a new episode of NYMLB Talk, which hosts Rob and Chris as we cover the Mets, Yankees, and all of Major League Baseball. And if you're on YouTube, hopefully you are, hit that sub button for us. We'd really appreciate it. But anyway, Rob, I think we're good.
Yeah, sorry about that, everybody. We had a little technical difficulties going on, and with this new format, YouTube has a new format, and it actually put us on like 9 times, and we were trying to correct it, and I guess we did something wrong. But whatever. But we're here. Chris, how's everything going?
Good to be back Friday night, right? We've got a lot to talk about for both our teams tonight. So why don't we start with the Mets, because it got a little interesting today with from Adam Ottavino making some comments.
Yeah, what's going on? All of a sudden, Adam Ottavino. Listen, let's remember. Last year, he did not pitch for the Mets. In fact, I think he pitched an inning and a half for the Yankees or something.
Something like that, yeah.
Something like that. Anyway, he was really giving it to Mets manager Carlos Mendoza. He was like bad-mouthing him, saying that for the way he handled the bullpen, saying that he didn't handle it right. Too many guys were injured. Too many guys, he was just not handling the bullpen properly. And what do you think about that? Do you think he just has a big mouth, or do you think he knows what he's talking about?
Listen, he probably knows what he's talking about, because when you think about it, they did fire their pitching coach, right? So that might have something to do with it. Maybe he does. Maybe he is onto something. I mean, there were a lot of injuries, so he might be onto something here. But it is strange, right? I mean, Ottavino had a lot to say, a lot of positive stuff too. He said today.
Yes.
Or yesterday on his podcast, a lot of good stuff about the minor league pitchers that are coming up and all that. But he did mention basically what we said too, that they definitely need to add a frontline starter to this team, right? Without a doubt.
Oh yeah. And listen, they definitely do. He also had some stuff to say about Nimmo, where he doesn't think Nimmo's going anywhere. Nimmo has a no trade clause. The Mets, rumor has it, the Mets have been talking about, they've been shopping him, talking about trading Nimmo, but Nimmo has that no trade clause. And right. Ottavino says, listen, Nimmo loves being a Met, and he would love to be a career Met. So he doesn't see him, unless the Mets disrespect Nimmo, he doesn't see him giving into any trade, giving up that no trade clause. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens.
Yeah, exactly. I think he wants to be a Met for life. So it would have to be something where, where Nimmo gets insulted and he finally goes, hey, you know what? Just get me out of here. And then they got to find a spot that he wants to be traded to. But yeah, it's definitely an interesting conversation now, talking about him. And then he did mention about DeGrom, that he would never waive his no trade clause to come back to the Mets. Because New York, not just the Mets, but New York is just not his town, right? He likes to be where he is in Texas, where he doesn't have a million people on top of him and everything else. So, which I totally get. But yeah, he did have some interesting things. It was a good conversation that he had. But yeah,
he also said that David Stearns does not know how to communicate with players. He said that also.
Yeah.
Which could be true. We know Stearns comes from small market baseball, right? And things are different here, and the fans so far, I guess it's like 50-50 with the fans with Stearns, because they don't like a lot of the moves that he's been making. They feel like he's playing as if the Mets were a small market team, and
Right.
a lot of complaints about that. What do you think?
Yeah. Oh, definitely. Listen, he's got the open checkbook now with Cohen, right? So
Right.
he's got to, he's got to change his strategy on how he builds his team. He goes from Milwaukee, like more or less a small market team, to now with one of the biggest market teams with the Mets. Probably he's definitely the richest owner. So he's got like an open an open checkbook here to sign anybody he wants, which he did last year with Soto, obviously.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, this year he's got to go for it. You know what I mean? I mean, you can't just keep on making minor moves and thinking, okay, this is what we're going to go with. This is when you got a bunch of prospects. Yeah, you want to keep McLean if you can, but some other guys, maybe you want to trade them in to get players that are going to be, that's going to help you now to win, not that's going to help you in 2 years, when maybe they'll be good, So
Yeah.
interesting offseason for the Mets. They got to go for it. They got to be players for one of the big starting pitchers. And, you got to re-sign Diaz. You got to try to re-sign Alonso as well. I mean, on top of your needs, right? So this is going to be an interesting offseason for them.
Yeah, it definitely is. And remember, though, Soto, we weren't too sure if that, Stearns was really on board with this contract. I think it was more Steve Cohen wanted to get Soto, and that's just the way it is. He's the owner. So I don't know, I don't know if what do you think? Do you think Stearns wanted to sign Soto, or do you think it was more Cohen saying, listen, we're signing him no matter what?
No, I come on. When a player like Soto becomes available, you don't get a superstar at that age, 25, 26 years old, become a free agent, right?
Exactly.
Usually they're right. Usually they're re-signed by their team and they don't even get to free agency until they're in their 30s, right? So he's prime age. Yeah, you could sign him to a 13, 14-year contract or whatever it ended up being. So, yeah, I think he was on board. I'm sure the amount was probably not was what he was on. He probably wasn't on board with the amount, but I don't think anybody was. And Cohen probably wasn't either, but he was like, listen, we need this guy. We got to get him. So it happened.
and it happened. So, so far today, we also found out, we had the qualifying offers and all that stuff going on. So, the Mets tendered contracts to Alvarez, to Brazoban, to Reed Garrett, McGill, Peterson, and Torrens, which none of those are shocks, right?
Yeah, I don't think so. That's all guys that you needed anyway, right?
Yeah, definitely. And Tyrone Taylor signed a 1-year deal. Listen, he's great for backup. He's great for late inning, defense, but we know the Mets need a center fielder, and they need a center fielder bad. Last year was a disaster, signing Siri, who then got injured, and what a mess that was. That was one of the problems the Mets had. So, it's good they signed Taylor, good for backup, good for late inning defense, but the Mets definitely have to get a center fielder.
Yes, absolutely. And that's why, just to bring it to the Yankees for a second, Grisham did accept the qualifying offer. I know fans didn't want that, the crazy, it's $22 million, but you know what? There's not many center fielders out there. So we're going to sign Grisham. Yeah, exactly. Madison's right. So now guess what? They can't sign Grisham. You know who they want to sign now? They probably want to sign Bellinger, right? Because there's not many center field options out there. So, it's not a definite that the Yankees are going to re-sign him. Yeah. You know what? We heard this last year with Soto. Yeah. He loved his time as a Yankee and he wants to come back and all that. Yeah. We're hearing the same thing with Bellinger, and look what might happen. The same thing might happen. He might end up signing with the Mets because both teams need him. Right. And the Mets really need a center fielder. The Yankees, okay, we got Grisham. Hopefully he could come close to or match what he did last year, right? Hitting the 35 bombs. And hopefully he's a little better defensively because he did kind of regress a little bit last year. So, but you know what, to get Bellinger back in there, you could play all three outfield positions. He can play first base as well. So he's a great guy to have. Let's see what happens. It might end up being like Soto was last year.
Did you think Grisham was going to accept the qualifying offer?
I didn't think so. I thought he was going to take a shot because there's not many options out there for center field. So I figured, you know what? He was like, hey, listen, I'm going to get a multi-year deal. I'm coming off this great season that I had, hitting 35 home runs. So I'm a little surprised, but hey, you know what? He's betting on himself. So I like that, as that's my positive as a Yankee fan. He's coming off his best season. Now he's betting on himself to do it again, right? So I'm okay with a guy betting on himself for a contract. So now he's going to be once again playing for a contract like he was last year. So you would think that he's going to have a season close to what he did last year. So that's what I'm that's my positive as a Yankee fan. Maybe I didn't want him either. I mentioned that, but you know what? We got him back. We know we have a center fielder. Now our options, we don't need a center fielder. Now we could look for a corner guy. So if we don't get Bellinger, okay, but maybe there's someone else out there for us.
Yeah, I agree with what you said. He's betting on himself, but sometimes, sometimes.
It backfires. Absolutely.
Yeah,
it does.
I mean, let's mention Alonso in the 2024 season. Okay. Look what happened. Now he's in a great position, obviously, but he didn't have such a great season, and he signed that contract with the Mets that he opted out of. And, that's why I thought Grisham was going to maybe put himself out there. I'm kind of shocked that he accepted the qualifying offer. I mean, $22 million is nothing to laugh about, right?
Definitely not. No, $22 million is not bad.
Yeah. And Dan says he's a great glove.
He is. He usually is. Last year, he definitely took a step back a little bit defensively, but I know he had a hamstring issue that he dealt with a lot of throughout the season. So maybe that had something to do with it. Maybe he'll bounce back, defensively this season. And I'm sure that's what the Yankees are hoping for too. So, but when you look at the options in center field, there wasn't many. Now you just got Bellinger, and you know what? If another team wants him, yeah, then you know what? Listen, the Mets could outspend anybody, but do they really want to, get into a bidding war for him? And they're going to probably have to go into a bidding war for Diaz, because there's going to be multiple teams looking at Edwin Diaz too, right? And then because they want him back. So
yeah. Listen, right now the most important piece is Edwin Diaz for the Mets. I think even more important than Alonso, even though I want them to sign both, obviously.
Yeah.
But how much does Alonso really want, and how many years does he really want? With his agent, who knows what he has in his head, because I don't know, but there's going to be a lot. It's going to be different than last offseason, I'm sure.
Well, something came out today
Alonso,
that supposedly he's looking for the same contract, more or less, that he signed with you guys the first time, the 5-year, $100 million or whatever. What was it was something like that, right? It said something 5 years, about $20 million a season. So you're looking at close to 5 for 100 is what he's looking for. I don't know if he's going to get that, but
he might get it. Listen, he might get it from someone else. I mean,
absolutely. Because he's proven. Think about it this way, Rob, and we could talk as Yankee fans too, how hard it is to find a guy to close games in New York.
Edwin
Diaz has done it, right? Yeah, he had the one bump in the road that one season that was bad, but other than that, he's been like the best closer in the game, doing it in New York. There's not many guys that could say they've done that, right? So, who else are you going to get? If all right, let's say the Dodgers outspent, say, all right, I'll give you 6 years for 120 or something, then you got to go in there and start looking for a closer that you hope could do it in New York. You know, do you want to bring back the guy you had last year that you traded for? Right? Do you
No,
want Ryan Helsley again? I don't
no.
know.
Listen, the Mets, Diaz has to be a priority, and the Mets are going to have to pay him. If the Dodgers offer him $100 million, the Mets are going to have to pay him more. That's just the way it is. And listen, like you said, the Mets have the richest owner in baseball, right? So the Mets can do it. And I think they have to sign Diaz. Like you said,
Yeah.
he's proven. We know that he could do it in New York. All right. When he got here, he had, he had a little trouble. We've talked to Mickey Callaway about that a bunch of times. When Mickey was his manager, he had problems, and that's why the Mets didn't make the postseason. If they had a healthy, well, he was healthy, but if they had a Diaz that pitched for Seattle, the way he pitched for Seattle, I think the Mets make the postseason in 2019.
Definitely. With that pitching, absolutely. And just to get back to the center fielders real quick, just to show you the other options outside of Cody Bellinger now at center field in free agency. Obviously, trades, anything can happen, but here's the options. Mike Yastrzemski, right? 35 years old. Cedric Mullins. You don't want to go down that road again, right? Harrison Bader, yeah, very good, but I don't know. Do you want to go? He's going to be 32 next year.
And he's not every day anymore,
Right. So those are the options. Dylan Carlson, no. JJ Bleday, no. So those are the options, right, that are left in center field. So you know what? Cody Bellinger is sitting back, putting his feet up and saying, let's hear the offers now, because he knows the Yankees, the Mets, maybe the Dodgers, all the big teams are going to be looking for this guy. So he's sitting pretty right now.
Oh, yeah, he is sitting pretty. So we're just going to have to see. Listen, I think the Mets are going to have a good offseason. I think the Mets are going to make the moves that they have to make. Starting pitching, we know. Listen, we went over the list of who's available in trade, who's available to trade, and Senga was one of the names that they were talking about. The Mets need starting pitching, so they're going to make the moves that they have to make. That's how I feel.
Yeah, no, I agree. And with the closer, at least with Diaz, if you do lose him, I know I just said, you're not going to be able to find a guy that could close in New York, but there are options, right? You got Suarez from San Diego. He's a free agent. Yeah. Who else is good? Fairbanks from Tampa Bay, Helsley, right? I don't think they're going to go down that way again, but Weaver from the Yankees, I don't think you want him. No. But there are a couple other guys that you could go. Tyler Rogers is a free agent. I wonder if they're going to bring him back, because he was pretty good for you guys.
Yeah, yes. He was.
So it's going to be, I think, simply put, they should go out of their way and give Diaz what he wants, get him back in here, and end it that way. This way you're set at closer. You feel a million times better when you're set at closer. It's so much of a better feeling, right? Going into the off season where you're like, all right, we got our closer, we're good, right?
I agree. And what does that say? Please say hi, Ainsley. Hi, Ainsley.
Hi, Ainsley.
There we go. All right, so let's get to the Yankees now, and what's going on with them.
Yeah, no, just like I said, with Grisham, that was the big news of the week. I mean, he accepted the offer. I know a lot of people were, upset. I wasn't so happy either, but at the end of the day, when you look at the other options at center field, now if you do end up getting Bellinger back, he's not your center fielder. Now he's back in left field. He could play some center field, but now you can move him around. You know what I mean? And we still got Dominguez, and you got Spencer Jones. Hopefully, maybe they're going to be trade chips now. But yeah, to me, I'm looking at it as a good thing. It's a 1-year deal. It. There's no bad 1-year deals, right? Because if he does stink or whatever, he's gone anyway, right?
Yeah.
So there's no long-term deal here, which is good. It's $22 million. Yeah, it's for a lot of money, but it is what it is. It's only money at the end of the day. That's how I look at it. So now they could concentrate on their other needs. Obviously, they could use another starting pitcher. I don't know if they're going to go big, but I would like to see them go for one of the better starting pitchers. to kind of, protect themselves with all these question marks with the Yankee rotation. I think it's a big story that's not getting enough big story, right? You got
Right.
Rodon and you got Cole coming back from injury, right? Cole's coming back from Tommy John, and Rodon is coming back from the elbow thing. So how are these guys going to be? How long are they going to be? It's only supposed to be a month, whatever it is. Then you got Fried, who, he pitched great last year. He made every start, pitched the whole, but he's a guy that does get hurt, right? With Atlanta, he has missed games. So are you expecting him to, start every game again? And you got Will Warren. He threw the most starts last year too. Are you expecting him to just bounce back and be totally fine throwing the most starts he's ever thrown? And what is Schlittler going to do? Is he going to be that guy that we seen at the end of last year? Yeah, we hope so, but I have,
You never know.
you don't know, right? We've seen a guy be a flash in the pan one year, and then the next year we know what happens. So I'm thinking positive. So, but I would really like one of those top end starting pitchers just to kind of, ease us, give it. Because listen, I always say it, you say, we always say it. You never have enough starting pitching.
Never.
So, and they still got to add a couple of arms in the bullpen, and obviously another bat too. So we'll see. But I think people got a little crazy because of the Grisham accepting the quality, the qualifying offer. I just think people got a little nuts for something very minor.
It is minor. Like you said, it's only for a year, and at least you have a center fielder now. And if the guy hits like he was hitting, and if his defense goes back to what it usually is, it's not bad for a year, right? 22 million, not bad.
No, it's not. It's really not. When you look at the other options, I think he was going to get pretty close to that if he got into free agency. I think he was going to get that because it's either him or Bellinger. After that, it goes straight down, with the bats in center field, So I'm okay with it now. I mean, I don't love it. Now are they going to go after Kyle Tucker? I don't think he was an option, to be honest. I keep saying that because he is a right fielder. And do you want to move him over to left, where especially Yankee Stadium's a little bigger than other stadiums, left field? I don't know if the Yankees, wanted to do that with Kyle Tucker. I don't know if Kyle Tucker wants to do that, right? He may not want to move to left. I don't know. So we have no idea. So I think Bellinger is the best fit for the Yankees. Is Kyle Tucker a better hitter? Yeah, he is a better hitter. But Cody Bellinger is the better fit, defensively. I would love Bregman for third base and trade McMahon. That would be awesome. I think he's a great fit for the Mets.
I think so too. I think so. And remember, and we were talking about trades on Monday with pitching. The Mets, like we said, the Mets have the players to trade, right? They have major league ready ball players that they could trade and make these deals. So, the Mets are in pretty good shape. If with whatever moves they have to make, they have the money to sign whoever they want to sign, and they have the pieces to trade if they want to make a trade. So the Mets are looking good right now.
And it brings up, right, Tarek Skubal, right?
Right.
Are the Tigers going to make the move? And we could say they basically have three options, right? One, make a trade now, right? They're not going to sign him. We have no shot at signing this guy to some $400 million deal or whatever he's going to get. And they decide, okay, let's get the best offer from the Mets or whatever and make the trade. They could keep him and then trade him at the trade deadline, or they could keep him for the whole season and then hope that they could sign him by the end of the year before he gets to free agency. So that's their option. To me, if you have no confidence or little confidence you're going to sign the guy, I would trade him now, because what if they go into the season and say, you know what, we'll trade him at the trade deadline? What if they get to the trade deadline and they're in first place? How are you going to trade your best pitcher at the deadline, right? For whoever you're going to get for him. You're not going to get the same value as Skubal, right? In the middle of the season or, in July. So I think the Tigers should trade him now. I know it stinks, take that PR hit. The fans are going to hate you for doing it. But you know what? Do it now. And this way now you could add to your team. You still have time. If you do it in the middle of the season, and if you're playing bad and you got no shot at the playoffs, then you trade them, it's going to be horrible. So at least now you could kind of still make moves after that and to build your team. So I don't know. If I'm the Mets, yeah, I'm offering him like Mickey said, right? I'm offering him everybody. So
That's right.
I don't know about everybody, but maybe, anybody but McLean. I would say McLean is one of your untouchables.
I think so.
And what is it? Carson Benj, right? Benj, the center fielder that everybody loves. Like maybe those two guys are off limits, but everybody else,
listen. Listen, there's major league ready ball players right now that the Tigers could get, and there's young pitching too. Like we said, McLean. No, we do not want to see McLean get traded, because the way he looked. And listen, you never know what could happen with a young pitcher, right? But the way he came in, they threw him in the fire. Basically, they threw all three of those kids in the fire. And McLean, he handled it. He was great, So I'm with you. If I'm the Tigers, I'm going to put him out there and see what deal I can make now. Get a bunch of major league ready ball players now. The fans are going to be pissed off, yes. But absolutely, in the long run, it may be a trade that benefits both teams. Both teams are winners.
And you can and if they do it now, at least the Tigers could make other moves, right? They could sign guys. They could, you're not going to probably sign Kyle Tucker, but at least you can make some moves to kind of say, okay, yeah, we did trade this guy, but we got these 3 or 4 guys back. 1 or 2 is going to be on a rotation or whatever. This guy's going to be our second baseman. Like maybe they get Beatty in this deal or something, but they could still make moves. If they do it in June or July at the trade deadline, like you can't really make other moves at that point. Now you're kind of like, oh, we can only make trades. So, and like I said, what if they're playing really good? Then they get like, well, we can't trade them.
Yeah.
We're going for it. Like if they did what they did, if they had a season like they had last year at the trade deadline, they were looking pretty good right before they kind of collapsed at the end. But they were looking really good in June and July. So imagine them trading Skubal at that point, right? It just doesn't make sense.
No,
I would do it now.
Sense. Yeah, I agree with you. It doesn't make sense because, okay, so you can't trade him during the trade deadline because you need him. And then you don't make it to the World Series. You don't win the World Series. He becomes a free agent, and then you get nothing for him.
Right.
So at least if you do it now, like you said, you could build around that trade. And the Mets aren't going to keep all the young arms. I mean, let's face it. So maybe you trade, throw Tong in that deal, or maybe you throw in Sproat, right?
Yeah, I'm sure one of those guys are going to be in it for sure.
Definitely. And there's other, Beatty. Yes, Beatty looked good last season. Philly got hurt. He looked like he was.
I would trade him in a heartbeat for
me too. But I would trade him in a heartbeat.
Yeah.
Because the Mets, like you said, the Mets could go after Bregman, right? So
absolutely,
get rid of Beatty. You also Acuna. They have Acuna they could use as a piece.
Yeah.
What's going to go on with Vientos too? He's another one. We don't even know what Vientos is, right? I mean, so they have
really
the
have
players.
A position right now.
Yeah,
right?
You're right. So,
and here's the other thing too with Skubal. If you go into the season, what if he gets hurt? Then you get nothing. You can have a bad season because you lost your ace, and you can't trade him. So now you're stuck with him, and you're going to lose him for nothing. So if I'm the Tigers, unless they got the money and they got an offer for him that's going to make him stay there, I have no idea. But if they said, hey, you know what? We tried to sign him. We couldn't. So we're trading him. I'd rather Detroit say that to their fans and say, we tried. He didn't want to sign until next offseason, and we couldn't chance it. So we had to trade him.
That's right. And the Mets made another good move so far this offseason. I think we talked about it Monday. They DFA'd Frankie Montas. That is one of the best moves.
So he's getting paid what, $17 million to just go away,
He's
right? Or whatever he's getting.
yes, just go away. That contract, what did he pitch? 7 games or whatever he pitched. I
Yeah.
mean,
Ay.
hey, listen, that's good work if you could get it, right?
Yeah. I wish somebody paid me $17 million to stay away. That would be nice.
That would be nice. So that's a great move. I'm happy about that. At least they're just going to eat that contract and, goodbye. That was a bad move. So
Yeah.
that's what's going on with the Mets. Now there's a couple other things going on that I wanted to mention. And one of them is the passing of Randy Jones. Okay. Randy Jones, I got to see him pitch when I was a kid. Okay. He had a couple of solid years. He had a great year when he won the Cy Young in 1976 for the San Diego Padres. The year before that, in 75, he came in second. Seaver won the Cy Young, and Jones was in second for that. So he had 2 really, really great years. He was 75 years old. He's 2-time All-Star. He pitched for the Padres, and then his last 2 seasons were for the Mets, and he was done by then. When he pitched for the Mets, he wasn't good. He pitched for those bad Met teams, but his career record was 100 wins, 123 losses, 3.42 ERA, and his number 35 was retired by the Padres. So, sad news. You never got to see him pitch, but
not really. No, listen, I had a couple of his cards. I know that, but being a Yankee fan, I didn't watch much, National League games.
Yeah.
Back in the day, it wasn't like now, where you catch all the games. But just looking at his career numbers, like those 2 years, 75 and 76, the guy made, check this out, the guy made 76 starts.
Yeah.
And he won in those 2 years. He won 42 of them. 43 complete games between the 2 years, 11 shutouts, over 600 innings pitched. Really great, just 2 great seasons back to back, like he said. And I think, is he still the only Padre to win the Cy Young?
I think, isn't he? I think so. I'll have to check that out though.
What he was, I don't know.
He was the first one.
Definitely the first one. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, really good pitcher for those 2 years. Other than those 2 years, a little, not the greatest career, but it did have a 10-year career. So
yeah, hey, listen, he had two excellent years.
Monster seasons.
Yeah, monster seasons. And he was friends with one of our guests, John D'Acquisto. He was teammates with him.
And he's also not a big strikeout guy. When I just mentioned, right, over 600 innings pitched, he had, between the 2 seasons, he had 196 strikeouts combined.
Well, his Cy Young season, how many strikeouts did he have? He only had like 70 something strikeouts, right?
Yeah. What was the year he won it? In 76, right?
76, yeah. 76, I think.
93 strikeouts that year.
How many?
93.
Oh, 93. Okay, yeah. So he didn't have that many.
93 in 315 innings pitched.
Amazing.
That's crazy, right?
It is. But he still won the Cy Young Award. And when we have John come back on, which he said he wants to come back on, and we will, we could ask him about Randy Jones as a teammate.
Definitely.
But sad news. I just wanted to bring that up because he was, for those 2 years, he was an amazing pitcher. He did win the Cy Young 76, second place in 75 when Seaver won it, and he did pitch 2 seasons with the Mets. Unfortunately, wasn't good as a Met, but his number was retired by the Padres.
Yeah.
All right, and also we have Chris. Why don't you tell us about the baseball, the television deals with Major League Baseball?
They finally got that straightened out. Got this up from Twitter. You could see ESPN will not have the Sunday night games, but they do own the MLB.TV package now, and they also will do 30 games on their own, including the Little League Classic. NBC now will do the Sunday night games. NBC and Peacock. They'll have the Sunday night games. They're going to have the draft. They're going to have the future game. And they're going to have the wild card round. Netflix does the home run derby. They're going to have opening night. So Yankees Giants are going to be on Netflix. They're also going to have the Field of Dreams game, which is Minnesota, Philadelphia.
Yeah.
Fox and FS1 is going to have the All-Star game, World Baseball Classic, the Division Series, Championship Series, World Series. Basically the same thing that we've seen along with TBS. If you remember that, one gets the AL, the other one gets the National League.
National League. Yeah.
And Apple gets their Friday nights again. So unfortunately for that, I know a lot of people don't like that either, but I actually like the games on Apple. They're actually not bad.
No, they're not bad. I like that. Listen, ESPN isn't what it used to be. We were talking about that before we came on the air. It's just, I mean, Morgan and Miller were the best with ESPN.
Yeah.
That's when ESPN was a giant in baseball. Now, you know, I'm not going to miss Sunday night baseball on ESPN. I just hope that NBC continues the tradition of great baseball coverage that we're used to.
Yes.
All right. Because
NBC great.
They used to be great. I mean, Joe Garagiola and Scully, they were great. NBC was the network for baseball. It was really good. So let's hope that continues. Did they even announce? They didn't announce anyone yet. Who's going to work the games for NBC, right?
I heard someone posted. I was trying to find it. I did hear Gary might get the NBC game.
Oh, you did? I didn't even hear that. Oh, well,
I forgot where I read it, but somewhere I forgot who posted it and said there was rumors that he was going to get it.
Oh, you know what? If he does, he deserves it, and that'll be a good move for NBC.
That'd be a step in the right direction for sure.
Yeah, definitely. So we're looking forward to that. That's a 3-year deal, but who knows what's going to happen? There's a work stoppage anyway. What's going to happen?
Yeah, that's a whole other issue. I mean, but that's 2027. Let's hope it doesn't. I think we're going to see here, right? I think we're going to see a lot this year with the contracts. I don't think the teams, like the owners, are going to care, right? Because whatever happens, whether there's a cap, no cap, whatever, I don't think the owners care, right? Because they're going to spend money, they're going to do whatever they have to do anyway. It's the players that are probably unsure. But if we don't see much change in the contracts that are being signed this offseason, like to me, Grisham, he probably would have gotten a multi-year deal if he went into free agency. But for him to bet on himself again, maybe he wants to get that huge contract next year. So maybe he doesn't think there's going to be that long of a work stoppage, right? Maybe obviously there's going to be some kind of a work stoppage, but maybe he's got confidence that whatever is being talked about is going to work out. I don't know. So we'll see.
Yeah, we'll definitely have to see. Listen, we hope that there isn't a work stoppage at all, but I mean that's being too optimistic. I think that
there's going to be something.
There's going to be something. Let's hope it's not long. Like we talked about this Monday.
Just don't miss games. That's all. Right?
Yeah, baseball has come. You know, it's making a comeback.
Right.
Postseason, best postseason viewership since 2017. Records at the ballpark. The Mets had their best year at Citi Field. All right. People are coming out. There's kids like baseball again. And I think some of these changes probably helped. I mean, probably the pitch clock and, you know, mostly anything. That stupid ghost runner, you know, that's still ridiculous.
That's still the worst thing ever in the history of sports, I think. But, you know,
But listen, Chris, let's consider ourselves lucky though, because that was done because of COVID and they kept that. But if you
Right.
remember, also during COVID, they had 7 inning doubleheaders. Thank
Oh,
God they didn't they
God.
didn't do that.
That's so awful. I have to say that is the most awful thing that baseball. And listen, during COVID, you had to get through whatever. We had to get through that season, right? The shortened season and all that. Get as many games in. I get it, whatever. But now it's yeah. Thank God that was thrown away after that. Like in the commissioner forgot about it, hopefully, and we don't have to deal with that ever again. But yeah,
Yeah,
I listen. It's going great, and you could see like maybe baseball is finally creeping up. Because you got off the air we were talking about with basketball. Basketball is nowhere near what it used to be in
no.
the 80s and the 90s. The popularity, so that's starting to come down. So maybe baseball has a chance to get back up there as the number two behind, of course, football's the monster, but
Yeah.
maybe they could be the number two sport in America. I know soccer's building and all that, but baseball, it'd be great to do that. And they have so much momentum. Like, don't mess this up. And I'm sure the players, as greedy as the players and the owners are, I'm sure they both are so greedy that they are thinking, hey, we got all this momentum. Let's not screw this up. Let's try to figure this out. So hopefully they could talk all this year, start throwing numbers around and getting all the lawyers together and trying to figure something out. So this way, by the end of the season, yeah, maybe they'll have, or at least close to an agreement, or at least they'll be closer than just, no, we're far away and they're nowhere near each other. So let's just cross our fingers, enjoy 2026. It's going to be a great season. Let's enjoy it and worry about what comes after.
Yeah, we'll worry about that afterwards.
Yeah.
Because we know baseball has a tradition of screwing things up. So
Exactly.
we'll see what happens. All right, I'm gonna get to something else. Did you know that Ron Guidry was worth like over $25 million?
No, I would have never thought that. I really never thought. I didn't think he made that kind of money when he was playing. He must. Hey, good on him. He must have invested well and all that. So
Yeah, my cousin says they'll screw it up. Yeah, they definitely will.
I'm sure they will. I'm sure
they
they
will
will.
screw
I'm
it up.
hoping they don't, but well, let's hope not.
Yeah, but anyway, well, we didn't know that, but obviously Ron Guidry's ex-wife knew that because she tried to take him to the cleaners for 80% of his net worth. Could you imagine that? And a judge, Guidry won in court, so he didn't have to give his wife 80% of his money. I mean, I don't remember her pitching any games. Do you?
No, definitely not. I don't remember. No, I definitely don't remember her earning that money. So, but no, good for him, man. It would be awful if he ended up getting screwed out of his own money.
I mean, listen, they were married. She's entitled to
I'm sure half or close to it.
You know, but not 80% of his money. I mean, where did she get that from?
Right. Unless he made some crazy investments after baseball, and that's where, or she helped with that. I don't know, but obviously, but thank God, it worked out.
Yeah. Well, the court, at least, obviously, the court knew, so they sided with him, and luckily for him. What else do we have? We have to talk about a trade, right?
Yes, I thought it was an interesting trade between the Angels and the Orioles, right? Grayson Rodriguez, the number one draft pick a couple of years ago, been hurt every season, but when he did pitch, he looked like exactly what he was. Like he was going to be that ace for Baltimore, but he's traded to the Angels for Taylor Ward. Now, Taylor Ward's only got 1 year of control before he becomes a free agent. So that's the only strange thing that, I thought they would have got more for Grayson Rodriguez, but Grayson Rodriguez has been hurt. He was hurt all this past season. But listen, when that guy is healthy, he could be a top of the rotation guy. He could be a 1 or a 2. So listen, I think the Orioles are, hopefully for their fans, not so much for the Yankee fans, but hopefully for their fans, they're in a win now mode right? Because they have all this young talent. Like it's time to spend money, right? You hate to say it. And the Orioles got a new owner. He supposedly has, deep pockets. He's supposed to have a lot of money. So you know what? Start spending some money and start getting that payroll up a little bit so you can compete with the Yankees and the Blue Jays and the Red Sox in that division. So and now the Angels, now they got a possible pitcher that they could build around if he's ever healthy. That's the whole thing. If he's ever healthy.
That's the whole thing. When he's been healthy, he does show the signs of, he could be great, but he's, he missed all of last year. He didn't pitch last year. He's injured. So they're taking a gamble. Also, Ward had his best year last year, right? He had his best numbers. But he's only a 247 hitter. And I mean, I know now
that's not bad.
That's right. Could you believe we're talking about this where 247 is not that bad?
No, right? No. Oh, you're giving him a lot. Last year he hit 228.
Yeah, I'm talking about his lifetime. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, in the lifetime, he's a 247, which is not great. He had a career year, home runs, RBIs, 36, 103, 792 OPS. Strikes out a lot, like everybody else. Nothing new there, right? But yeah, listen, at least now they got someone for, what is he? He's a left fielder, I think. He's left or right. He's left fielder, right? So
left fielder.
You know what? Yeah, I mean, he's a good hitter. I mean, again, he's only got one more year of team control, so I thought they'd get more for Grayson Rodriguez, but maybe they won't,
And we keep hearing that the new owner has deep pockets, but we haven't seen him do anything about it, right? Which is good for you guys, Chris, for the Yankees, but Baltimore fans are getting tired of this. They were so close with the young players, and it looked like they were going places, and then they just didn't make the right moves. So
yeah,
we'll see what happens.
And you know what? And the division is just getting harder because the Blue Jays, obviously, we've seen what they did. They were 2 outs away from winning the World Series, and they're going to spend money. They've been trying to spend money for the last couple of years. They finally spent a little bit. I'm sure they're going to try to spend money again this year. They're going to be in on all the big free agents. I'm sure they're going to be in on Tucker. I'm sure they might even be in on Diaz, because if they had Diaz, maybe they'd be World Series champs right now, right? Instead of having Hopkins.
I think they probably would be if they had Diaz.
And the Red Sox are going to be really good this year. You're right. They had a couple of young kids come up. You had Roman Anthony come up, look really good before he got hurt. The Red Sox are going to be really good. So, and then you got, of course, the Yankees are going to be what they're going to be, right? So Baltimore's got to spend some money. Tampa's getting their stadium back. So who knows what they're going to do? They're getting a new stadium eventually in the next couple of seasons. So, I mean, the Orioles are probably looking at, listen, we got all this young talent. It's time to go. It's time to, throw a couple of bucks there, get some free agents in there and surround those kids with some proven stars if they can. Maybe they go after Kyle Tucker. I don't know, but let's see.
Listen, that's going to be a tough division. I mean, it really is. Toronto's got this taste now. 2 outs away from winning the World Series. They I don't know. They kind of got screwed out of that World Series, I think.
A couple of, every game was like there was a couple of plays that could have went the opposite way that could have turned everything around, right? I mean, the last game was crazy. We seen it, we loved it. So, I mean, listen, they were that close to winning a championship.
Listen, even though our teams weren't in it, that was an awesome World Series, I gotta say.
Incredible. Really. Incredible. There was so many close plays, like I said, that could have went either way that would have changed the outcome of some of these games. And that could have been, the Blue Jays celebrating easily. I mean, they were 2 outs away from a championship, right? It's just crazy. And if they had a different closer, that's what I'm sure they're going to be looking for. If they could sign Diaz,
listen,
or one of the other guys.
Right now, no one's got it better than Diaz. Everybody is he's where you want to be. He could just sit back and just listen and wait and make his decision. So that's why the Mets better not play games. The Mets better get this done because they need it. Listen, you're not going to replace him. You said there's some options, but those options are not Edwin Diaz, as far as I'm concerned. That's the most important thing the Mets have to do this offseason. They have to sign Diaz.
Yeah, they're not. Those guys are not proven in New York. I'm sorry. There's a difference between a proven closer and a proven closer in New York, right? We unfortunately, outside of Rivera, like we were spoiled with Mariano Rivera all those years, because after that, we haven't gotten that proven closer that could close in New York. Bednar looked pretty good at the end of the year. Let's hope let's hope he could handle it this year. I don't know, for a whole season. We'll find out.
That was a great move. I think that was a great move for the Yankees. I mean, listen, Williams was not cutting it. And that's another thing. The rumors, about the Mets. I don't want to see him on the Mets. Okay. I don't want to see Williams on the Mets. I don't know how.
There is a connection, right, with Stearns, because Stearns had him in Milwaukee. So
that's what. Yes, I know. That's the whole thing. There is that connection. Listen, he did start to pitch a little better, right?
Yeah,
towards the
second
end of
half
the year.
was much better. Second half, I mean, he wasn't perfect, far from perfect, but he was definitely better after he settled in. Those first couple of months was really shaky. Yeah, it was rough. It was definitely rough, without a doubt. So I think he would be, I'll be honest, if he went to the Mets, I think he would be fine there. Because I think he's like, all right, I know what to expect now. I know. Yeah. There's going to be, 50 reporters, every game is like a playoff game in New York compared to Milwaukee where, it's not, right? Until it's a playoff game. So I think it was like getting used to New York and stuff like that. But by the time he got used to it, he had already lost his job. So the confidence level in him was low. So I think if the Mets end up losing Diaz, they might go after Williams. They might go after Williams regardless. As a setup guy or a closer.
Yeah, use him as a setup guy because Hensley, I don't see him coming back. It turned out to be bad. All right, we got a couple minutes, so let's talk about managers for a minute or two. Mendy, you think he's on a short leash this year for the Mets?
I would think so. I think they would have to really start off bad for him to be, like fired or something like that. I think he's probably safe for the year, but if they have another year like they did last year where they missed the playoffs, he's definitely gone. I can't see them, I think he has to at least get to, maybe the championship series this year. Like, I don't think if they don't get to the LCS, I think he would be gone, but I could be wrong. You never know.
And I think Carlos Beltran is waiting in the wings. I think, he paid his price. We talked about this Monday. He paid his dues because of, the sign stealing baloney in Houston. He lost his chance to manage the Mets. And I think that everything, all is forgiven now. I think, and we talked about it Monday too, I think he probably makes it into the Hall of Fame this year. I think he might be the only one.
Yeah, him or what is it? Andrew Jones?
Yeah, maybe Andrew Jones.
Right? Yeah. I think, them and who was the other ones? I think they were the two top.
They were the two top. The other ones had a lot of ground,
Yeah, and all the first ballot guys this year, none of them are Hall of Famers, so none of them are getting in. I think most are going to be jumped off the ballot too. I'll be honest. I think we talked a little bit about it, but Beltran and Jones. Beltran got 70% last year. This is going to be his fourth year. Andrew Jones, his ninth year, he got 66%.
So he's close to.
Yeah, Utley got 39%. So maybe he gets a little closer. A-Rod's fifth, probably not going to get in. Manny Ramirez his last year. He's going to be 34%. So yeah. So I think just those two got a shot.
Me too. All right, so Mendy, you know, he has to make it. He has to make it to the postseason, definitely, and maybe the championship series. Boone, we've talked about. What do you think about Boone? Does Boone even have to worry? They love him so much. You know?
Yeah, he's probably got. Listen, it would. I don't think they would change him during the season anyway. Maybe at some point he gets moved later on. You know, like if they don't. You know, if they have another first round knockout like they did this year, a division series knockout, excuse me, maybe he would get fired. I don't know. Does he have another year left on his contract? I think.
Who, Boone?
Yeah.
Does he have one more year left?
Yeah, this is either his last year. He's got one more year left. I'm not 100% on that,
but Hal Steinbrenner loves him, and you know he's a company man, so. Even though the Yankee fans do, you know, they do call for his head. And listen, he would have never lasted. We said with George.
No,
George was alive. That. Yeah, I mean, he would have never lasted. So
he would have been gone before the COVID season. I think he would have been gone before that. So I think he would have been long gone by now. They probably would have gone through 3 managers by now. But yeah, I think it is what it is. I think Hal wants to be totally different than his dad. He wants to be like the complete opposite. You know, he doesn't want to be as, you know, temperamental, firing guys left and right like he used to be. So, you know, and that's probably to a fault because maybe Boone could have gone a couple of years ago. But listen, we're stuck with him. We just got to get the right players. Forget about the manager. We need the right players.
Yeah, he wants to be like George Costanza, the opposite. He wants to do everything the opposite.
Right, exactly. He wants to do everything the opposite.
So
that is true.
He's definitely not like his father.
No.
All right, so we got to make a couple of announcements. Starting next Friday night, we're going to move to 9 p.m. instead of 10. We figured because it's the off season, we don't have to wait for games to finish. So let's try it at 9, right, Chris? See what happens.
Yeah, why not?
You know,
maybe a little earlier. I know some people don't want to be up so late, you know, on Friday night. So let's try it at 9 o'clock. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, and Dan says Hal is no George. That's for sure.
No,
we know that.
definitely not.
We know that. Yeah. So we're gonna try it for 9 p.m. See how that runs for a while. And we have a lot of great guests coming up. I just wanted to talk about Monday's show at 3 p.m. We have baseball historian and New York Times best-selling author Eric Sherman. He's written or co-authored about 9 baseball books. One of them is Davy Johnson. He also wrote a book about the 86 Mets, about Mookie. So there's a lot of New York stuff in there. He's going to join us 3 p.m. on Monday. And I'm looking forward. Listen, I always love talking to these guys who write for baseball, right, Chris?
Yep. Yeah. Interesting conversations. I love it. Love talking to historians like that. Guy who's wrote a bunch of books. I think it's awesome. I think they're episodes. If you love baseball, they can't miss episodes, right? When we have people like this, when we have former players, managers, historians, because they could give us, you know, the history of the game. They could talk to us about the game that no one else can. You know, like we're just fans. Yeah, we've been fans forever. We've seen a million games, but we don't know the game that like they do. So it'd be fun. It'd be a fun conversation. So if you got any questions, baseball history, Mets history, bring him down, bring him in. I'm sure he's going to answer all of them.
Yeah, and it's going to be really fun. It's going to, like you said, that's a must-see show. Listen, we had the Expos historian Danny Gallagher on last month, and he was awesome. I mean, that guy he knew every player to play for the Expos, and he wrote, I think he's on his 11th or book.
And you know what?
And he
That was a great episode to watch, especially if anybody's watched the Netflix
Yes.
documentary on the Expos, it would be a great one to watch before that, so you have kind of a preview of it almost, because he did speak a little bit about how why the Expos left and all that, and watching the documentary, you kind of get that it wasn't just one person at fault. There was a lot of people at fault. So, but if you haven't checked it out, definitely check that out too. It's on Netflix. Who Killed the Expos? I think. It was
Yes.
called. It's
Yeah,
definitely worth
and,
it.
thank you. We appreciate
Thank
that.
you.
We make every show feel.
That's
so
Rob. I
exciting.
think that's more Rob. Rob is
Oh,
Mr.
yeah,
Excitement.
Nah, Chris, you are. Chris is great too. Chris did a great job when I was on vacation last Friday night. That was a great show. But anyway, all right, Chris, that's all I got. What about you?
Yeah, no, that's all I got too. I'm looking forward to hopefully some more free agent news coming up soon. Because right now we're all kind of waiting on the edge of our seat now for the Mets to make a move, the Yankees to make a move, somebody to make a move, right? We got that one trade. Right. We want to get some big free agent signings. We want the ball. Like once one of them comes, then the rest start happening. So I'm definitely looking forward to it.
I better take that off.
All right.
Anyway.
Exciting and sexy. I don't know if that was.
I don't know about that.
Yeah, I don't know if that's a way that anybody would explain our conversation, that would describe our show, but thank you.
Yeah, and thanks, Dan. But anyway,
you, Dan.
I just want to thank everybody out there. We had another pretty big audience out there today.
Yeah,
and they stuck with us as usual, which we love.
Through our difficulties earlier.
Our technical difficulties in the beginning show. All right, anyway, so thanks everybody. We will see you Monday. Make sure you check out that episode if you can. Watch it live. If not, watch it on the replays, because it's going to be an awesome episode. And Chris, I'll see you Monday.